Welcome to Upstart Footy Preview for yet another round of AFL action. A very important round this one, and it kicks off with a massive game tonight. But before we get into it, it's time to introduce the man himself. Recently voted as the most popular AFL commentator with Japanese descent. He is, of course, the Japanese assassin himself, John Takemura. Good to see you Tokyo Foss.
Good to see you, mate. And just checking the fashion sense here, the red shirt, the red hair and the hair showing through. You're trying to get the camouflage army look going. Oh,
you're very humorous, aren't you, John? But I suppose you're not one to talk. You wear the same T-shirt and the same tracksuit pants every single day, so I wouldn't be talking too much. Round 9 kicks off with a massive clash at Etihad Stadium, John, between Carlton and Geelong. Geelong, of course, are undefeated. They are the form team of the competition at the moment. 7-0 after 8 rounds. Blues coming off the bye. Going for the Cats just because of their midfield depth, but I worry about those Carlton small forwards, Betts, Garlett, Walker. They can just go zip, zip, zip around those Geelong defenders and they could really get on top. But just going for that midfield depth, Kelly, Bartel, Selwood, Corey, etc.
Simple reason I'm going for Geelong is this season they've only conceded an average of 63 points a game. And I think Carlton, coming off the bye, are going to find it a bit hard to score goals. I worry about their tall forward line structure. But last year at the MCG, on that Friday night, Geelong's small defenders were given an absolute runaround by Betts, Yarran and Garlett. So I think if that happens again, I think Geelong might be in trouble, but I think Geelong will make it 8 straight.
The quintessential crunch time game on Saturday afternoon between St Kilda and Melbourne. To say that these two clubs need a win is the biggest understatement of the season. Almost a bigger understatement than saying that you actually need to get your licence to get from East Brighton to flopping Bundoora, J-Tac. I'm going for the Saints here. Their experience just overrides anything, and the D's injury list at the moment is mounting by the week. I think the Saints might do it, Nick Rowett, possibly to get back into some form. Yeah,
I've got to agree with you there, Benny. St Kilda, they're usually pretty good at Etihad Stadium. Melbourne, they are atrocious at that venue. They showed that last week. Injury list is mounting by the minute. Colin Sylvia, their star midfielders, came out and said, we've got to stand for something this week, Benny.
I'm very nervy.
I'd be very nervy about that. So expect Melbourne to come out hard, but St Kilda, if they want to show anything this year, they've got to win this game.
Fremantle travel across the Nullarbor to take on the Port Adelaide Football Club at Amy Stadium on Saturday afternoon. We won't harp on this one too long, Jonathan. Port Adelaide in very, very poor form, to say the least, and the Dockers will be wanting to rebound after their derby loss to arch rivals West Coast last week. I think the Dockers will do it pretty easily, even though it's away from home.
Yeah, Dockers by 10 goals plus, I think. I think Port Adelaide, they're out of form. Their key players just aren't performing. There's something really wrong down there.
Senior players, I think.
Freo struggled with the forward pressure last week from West Coast, but Port Adelaide's forward line, well, it's shown no forward pressure all year. So, Freo to win easy.
Interesting bottom of the table clash between Brisbane and North Melbourne up at the Gabba, up in Queensland, Jonathan, where I'd rather much be in this Melbourne weather right now. Brisbane yet to win a game this season. North Melbourne won their second last weekend. However, big news, Jonathan Brown will return for the Lions. Of course, their inspirational captain, their best player, their best forward. I think he's going to make a massive difference. And away from home, I think the Roos might struggle. And the Lions will get their first win of the season, I think, John.
Yeah, North Melbourne, not a good record interstate. And also, Brisbane Lions have not won a game since 2006 when Jonathan Brown has not played.
Big stat.
So I think with Jonathan Brown coming back, he's an inspirational leader, and I think he'll be able to kick 5 or 6 goals and get them over the line against North, who were very much improved last week. 70-point turnaround against Melbourne, and they'll put up a good fight, but Brisbane to finally get off the bottom of the ladder.
We're standing in Latrobe's Coliseum, dramatic theatre Coliseum at the moment. But one Coliseum that will be alight on Saturday night is, of course, the AFL's Coliseum, the MCG. Dream time at the G between Essendon and Richmond, of course. The night celebrates Aboriginal players, Indigenous players, and what they mean to the game, what they've brought to the game. Thinking that the Bombers, at the moment, they're just in sensational form. They'll be missing a couple of players in the weekend, but I don't think that'll matter too much. Leroy Jetta, Paddy Ryder will be really up and about for this game, and I think will be too strong for the Tigers.
Yeah, Leroy Jetta in good form. A certain friend of ours has picked him as All-Australian already this year.
Probably jumped the gun on the
Yeah, so I think so too. But I'm going for Richmond. I think Joe Watson's a bigger loss than I think a lot of people realise. He's their grunt man in the centre of the ground. And Richmond have got some really good midfielders in Foley, Martin, Cochin. I think they can dominate in that area, get the ball to Jack Riot, put him out one-on-one. He's the best forward in the comp, just apart from, I'd say he's better one-on-one than Franklin.
Okay.
So I'll go for Richmond.
Big test for the Adelaide Football Club Sunday afternoon at Etihad Stadium. They travel to take on the Collingwood Football Club, who will be shattered that they didn't get over the line against the Cats last Friday night. They will be out for revenge, you would have thought. Even though they're not playing the Cats, they're playing the Crows. I think this one could get ugly. Pies pretty easily.
Yeah, Adelaide were, let's put it out there, they were disgraceful against Melbourne a fortnight ago at the MCG. And Collingwood, they'll be desperate to show that they're still the #1 side in this competition.
Yep.
And I think that loss, you know, it might not have been so bad for them. I think it's maybe given them a bit more drive, a bit more resilience. And I really worry for Adelaide on a fast deck at Etihad. I just don't think they've got enough talent across the board. I think Collingwood, for the punters out there, 10 goals plus.
Jeez. The match between Sydney and Hawthorn at the SCG on Sunday afternoon has MOTR, Match of the Round, written all over it, John Takemura, because these two teams in pretty good form, good wins, solid wins, I think, last week against Port Adelaide and, of course, St Kilda. Going for the Hawks here. I know the Swans play the SCG better than any other team, but I just liked how Hodge got into some form. I liked how Buddy kicked 5 last week. Could have kicked 7 or 8 if he wanted to. And liked how Shields, Suckling, Isaac Smith, Luke Bruce, your bestie, John Takemura, got into some form, these young players. I reckon the Hawks might do it.
I've got to disagree with you, Benny. Sydney, the SCG, they play that ground so well. They bottle it up, stoppage after stoppage after stoppage. Jude Bolton in excellent form this year, tackling like crazy.
Yes.
And Hawthorn, too many injuries in the back line. Gillum, Stratton, also in ruck. Playing Jared Ruffhead in the ruck diminishes their forward line. Lance Franklin's going to struggle on the small ground to get a lot of disposals and I think have an influence on the game. So I think Sydney will get up.
I don't like arguing with you sometimes, JTAC. Round 9 concludes with the Eagles taking on John Takemura's Western Bulldogs at Patterson Stadium on Sunday afternoon, a late game. I have seen the Bulldogs play on a Sunday and I have seen you complain about that once or twice before. Dogs, though, good win against the Tigers last week. Were challenged in that second and third quarters, but were able to pull away. Lindsay Gilbey, Will Minson kicking 10 goals between them. But, gee, I was impressed by the Eagles last week. You tipped them against the Dockers. I didn't, but I'm on the Eagles bandwagon. They are a genuine Final 8 contender this season. Have every right to be. Nat Nui Cox working beautifully in tandem in the ruck at the moment. And that forward press, I think, will be too good for the Dogs. Eagles to win, I think, just.
In saying that, last week they didn't have Daniel Kerr and Andrew Embley
pulled
who
out 15 minutes before the game.
And if they don't play this weekend, my question is who is going to stop guys like Matthew Boyd,
Matty Prentice, man.
Well, I think Matthew Boyd, last time he was at Patterson Stadium a fortnight, 2 or 3 weeks ago, lazy 45 disposals.
Did the Dogs win that game,
The Dogs should have won that game.
Is that right?
You know, this might be my heart talking over my head, but I think the Doggies can get up there. Forward line structure looked good last week. Barry Hall, I don't think they should risk him for the trip across the Nullarbor. They kicked 23 goals last week. That was like the Dogs of 2008, 2009.
Yep.
And I think with a big ground, I think they can exploit West Coast. As you said, they have brilliant forward line pressure.
Yep.
But if the Dogs can win the ball out of the midfield, kick it to the forward line and have one-on-one tussles, I think they'll be able to kick enough goals to beat the Eagles.
I have seen you put your heart over your head before, Jonathan. And of course, Gold Coast Suns with the bye, that's their second bye, so they get all their byes out of the way very early on in the season. That's all we have time for on Upstart Footy Preview for round 9. Good to see Jonathan Takemura, the Tokyo Japanese assassin. Thanks for your time, Jonathan.
No worries, mate.
And we will see you next week for Upstart Footy Preview. Make sure you stick around on Upstart, your magazine for emerging journalists.